Howdy folks, glad you could join us. I'm a grouchy old patriot. This is a little show we like to call Coffee with the Grouch. We sit down, have a little chit chat, talk about various topics, history, current events, preparedness related issues, whatever. So go grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of sweet tea. Depending on the time of day you're watching it, grab your favorite adult beverage, and cop a squat, and let's have a little talk. We'll talk about something today that's a little sensitive. People start talking about this. Now, a lot of times the conversation gets shut down due to getting bogged down in the weeds of politics, and people have their own feelings about it. And I'm going to say a few things today that are probably highly unpopular. And 75% of you is probably going to click off of this video 3 to 4 minutes in. Either probably because you don't agree with what I'm saying, or you're too damn much of a coward to hear what I'm saying, because you know it's the truth. We're going to talk about mass shootings today. And I'm not talking about your gangbanger violence and criminal cartel, drug cartel violence. And I'm not talking about the guy that gets mad because his wife's cheating on him and shoots her and her boyfriend and her best friend because she knew and didn't tell him. No, I'm talking about the school shootings and the movie theater shootings and the mall shootings, where the perpetrator doesn't know his victims and doesn't have any prior interaction with any of his victims. He's strictly going for a body count and for fame, infame and notoriety. Seems to be they've been a little on the increase in the last several years. And we got to figure out why that is. Before we can start talking about prevention, we have to talk about the reasons behind it. And that's where this starts getting bogged down in politics. Because it seems like everybody has their own little agenda they want to push. And I'm sorry if the lens is flaring a little bit, but when you're out dealing in natural sunlight, you kind of get that issue. I'm going to get one thing out of the way right up front so we don't have to worry about it. You have people on the left, a certain group of people, who, whenever you bring the topic up, they immediately point out that, oh, assault rifles are so much easier to get today than they were 30 years ago. Well, let's look at that. Number one, this term assault rifle is a political term. I don't agree with it. It's an invented term. But when we're talking about that style of rifle, AR-15 style, AK-47 style of rifle, what are we talking about? When you get right down to the nut cutting, what are you talking about? You're talking about a fairly powerful rifle that's accurate, easy to use, and has a semi-automatic with a magazine capacity of 15 to 30 rounds, right? Okay, well, let's say that supposedly they're so much easier to get today. Well, before the Gun Control Act of 1968, you could order them kind of weapons. Mail order. Sears and Roebuck catalog. Hell, before 1934, you could order a damn Tommy gun. Thompson submachine gun. You could go to the hardware store and buy a Thompson submachine gun before the NFA. I had men come back from World War II who had used the M1 carbine in combat, and the federal government released a bunch of them to the civilian market, and after the war, surplus market. A lot more were put on the civilian market after the Korean War. You could go to the hardware store, you could go to the gun store, you could go to the pawn shop, you could mail order them, $35, $40. They were semi-automatic, fairly powerful, accurate, easy to wield. The standard came with a magazine of 15 rounds, but 25 and 30 round magazines were available. So the fact that they're easier to get today than they were years ago, that argument don't fly. So it's got to be something else, right? Well, what is it? Now mind you, this is the grouchy old patriot's viewpoint, but it's founded in some hard truths. A lot of people don't like to hear them. I'm sure all of you have heard the term toxic masculinity. Where if a man exhibits stereotypical male traits of strength and confidence and integrity, personal responsibility, he's excoriated as being a toxic male. Supposed to be in touch with your feminine side. We're pushing our young men to be effeminate. We're trying to emasculate them. God created men and women. He created man to be the protector, the strong one. Protect his family, protect his village, protect his tribe. To be capable of great violence. But he also created woman to temper that violence with her emotional caring and nurturing. And now we're saying that there's no difference between men and women. Now I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any difference before the law, that women shouldn't have the same rights and same equalities and same opportunities as men. But to say that there's no difference between men and women is doing a great injustice to both men and women. A man should be dangerous. Man should be capable of great violence. That's not very popular to say anymore. And I'm sure right now, several of you are clicking off this video because you're saying that this old bastard don't know what he's talking about. Men shouldn't be dangerous. That's the problem now. They're shooting up these schools and shooting up these movie theaters. And we got to teach them to be more nurturing and more caring and, well, that's the problem. We're teaching our young men to be weak. When I say dangerous, I don't mean reckless. I don't mean violent. I mean capable, formidable, able to deal with issues and problems and the day-to-day strife of life, capable of forming an opinion and making a decision, and dealing with the consequences of that decision. We've got young men who are given everything in their life. Never have to earn anything. They learn from an early age, if they cry and whine long enough, mom and daddy's going to get them that new iPhone, that new PlayStation or Xbox. If they go whining to the teacher and the principal, somebody else will deal with the bully on the playground, so they don't have to. We disincentivize them. If they do go try and deal with the bully on the playground, well, we also punish them. Suspend them for 3 or 4 days. Teach them that that's the wrong way to deal with your problems. Well, if they went to deal with that bully on their own and they got their ass beat, then they had learned that maybe I need to toughen up a little bit. Maybe I need to learn some more martial skills. Or they learn the lesson to pick their battles. Both of them are equally valid. But when you run to somebody else to fight your battles for you, you're doing nothing but perpetuating weakness. I know that's not a popular opinion to have today, but it's true. We push the idea of unlimited rights. Women have the right to an abortion. Everybody has the right to free health care, have the right to free education. No personal responsibility, no earning your way, no doing things for yourself. Well, rights without responsibility are worthless. They go hand in hand. You have to be taught responsibility. You have to be taught that there are consequences for your actions. And as a young child, as a kid, you have to learn that. These parents who are, what do they call them, helicopter parents, are always hovering over their kid, never letting them make a mistake. You ain't doing them no favors. Let them fall off the bike. Let them fall out of the tree. Let them make their own mistakes. Let them learn that there are consequences to their actions. Hell, when I was a kid, we were kicked out of the house first thing in the morning so we wouldn't be underfoot and be home before dark. Go out and learn about the world. Go out and learn life. Deal with your friends and with your peers in a social fashion, and learn to deal with problems and strife and issues. Learn how to get along with people. Learn what works and don't work. We've got away from that. Now we've got generations of young men and kids who don't know anything but staying home and playing on their Xbox or getting on their phone and interacting in social media within their own little clique. They're in an echo chamber. They're not having to deal with real people and real problems. Everybody was born with different abilities and capabilities. Not everybody can be a winner. But we don't teach kids that anymore. Just for participating, we're going to give them a trophy. They never learn how to deal with losing. They never learn how to deal with rejection. Okay? Hell, I played basketball in school. I learned from an early age that I was never going to be tall enough to dunk the basketball. I was never going to be able to run and jump high enough to win the high jump in the track meet. My short legs didn't allow it. So I had to choose events that my abilities and my capabilities gave me an advantage in. Shot put, baseball. You know, I could throw that ball from left field all the way to home plate. Couldn't throw it from the pitcher's mound to home plate, but I could throw it from left field. Football, I played on offensive line, you know. But I was never encouraged to keep doing something that I was incapable of. Oh, little Susie wants to be a ballerina, so we're going to put her in dance. Well, the fact that little Susie has no coordination at all, 2 left feet, she's never going to be a ballerina. Well, putting her in dance when she's 4 or 5 years old, that's great. Let her have a good time. But little Susie has to be allowed to realize that she's not going to make the dance squad in high school. And by putting her on the dance squad in high school, you're not teaching her anything. You know, there's no more tryouts. Nobody tries out for the team anymore. Nobody tries out for this or that. They're just sign up and you're on the team. You got parents who jump in and, oh, how come you're not letting my son pitch in the baseball games? Well, number one, because your son couldn't hit the backstop from the pitcher's mound. That's why he can't pitch. No, we don't tell him that. It's like, well, he'll pitch next game. It don't matter that we're going to lose because your son's pitching, because we're all still going to go to Dairy Queen anyway and celebrate the fact that everybody got to play. Winning is not celebrated anymore. Participating is celebrated. Well, real life don't work that way. Just because you show up every day at work and participate, that don't mean you're going to get the raise. That don't mean you're going to get the promotion. The guy that shows up every day and excels, puts out 110% every day, is the one who's going to get the promotion and the one who's going to get the raise. That's life, folks, and we're not preparing our young men for it. I said men should be dangerous. That's true. Because being dangerous, being formidable, is the opposite of being weak. Being weak and naive and incapable lends itself to bitterness. If you are incapable of dealing with the day-to-day struggles of life, you become bitter. And that bitterness and anger means you're going to lash out in a deadly manner, either against yourself or against somebody else. So yeah, our men should be dangerous and formidable. But that needs to be tempered with responsibility. I didn't say reckless, I didn't say violent, I didn't say cruel. But a man should be capable of violent action. Where is the honor in not acting if you're incapable of acting in the first place? Where's the virtue in keeping your sword sheathed if you don't have a sword to wield in the first place? Honor and virtue can only come from a position of strength. And an honorable and virtuous man is not a weak man. Passage in the Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. They chose that word purposefully. They said meek, not weak. Now what is a meek man? Well, a meek man is the one who turns the other cheek. Not because he has to, but because he can. The weak man turns the other cheek because he has to. Think about that for a minute, folks, okay? I don't have the answers. I think I've hit the nail pretty close to the head on the problem. We've also given this these last 2 or 3 generations the idea that life is not precious. We got half the population clamoring for abortion on demand, all the way up to and including post-delivery. Well, I'm sorry, a post-delivery abortion is nothing but murder, infanticide. But in my opinion, so is pre-delivery abortion. So we're teaching these kids that the only reason they're alive is because on that one particular day, their mother decided not to have an abortion. Otherwise, their life could have been snuffed out even before it began. So what's the use in living? What's the use in 30 million women getting an abortion and me going to movie theater and shooting the place up? You see how they can think that? Like I said, folks, I don't have the answers. It's going to take all of us talking, coming together, deciding what's important in our society. Men, women, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, black, white, brown, green, and red. It's going to take all of us coming together and figuring out how we're going to get ourselves out of the situation that we as a society have put ourselves in. Yeah, there's no easy answers, folks. When the question itself is difficult, you can rest assured the answer is going to be difficult. But we can't shy away from it. That's what we've been doing for 20 years. And it's only going to get worse unless we confront it. I'm glad you were here. If you're still here, you aren't really the one that needed to hear this anyway. The ones that needed to hear this are the ones that clicked off 3 or 4 minutes into it because it was too much truth for them. But do me a favor, share this video. Share it on Facebook or whatever your social media platform is. Share it with your neighbors, with your family. Leave me a comment below. Hit subscribe and like and thumbs up and hit that bell and all that good YouTube crap, because I try and get my channel to grow a little bit. But I'm going to get out of here now. I've been here long enough. And if it feels like I got a little preachy today, I apologize, but no, I don't. Because I feel this needed to be said. But as always, folks, I'm glad you're here. And may liberty's torch light your path. And Godspeed in all your endeavors. Thank you.